What's going on, everyone? Today we are taking a look at a new projector. This is the DESS C5 Enterprise. Taking a look at the specs, this has a 1080p resolution with 2500 ANSI lumens, HDR10 compatibility, a built-in 65 watt speaker system, and an industry-first auto positioning feature. Taking a look inside the box, you have your power cord, your remote control, and then last but not least, you have the actual projector itself. Taking a look at the projector itself, this is definitely a very nice and unique looking projector. When I saw it on pictures, I wasn't sure what to think, but now seeing it in person, this is definitely a very luxurious and expensive looking projector. This projector is pretty cheap, but if I didn't know how much it costs and I seen this at someone's house and they told me they paid $2,000–$3,000 for it, I would easily believe them, because as you can see, this right here just looks like money. So as you can see, you have all this shiny chrome up here. You got this matte gray in the middle. Then you got a big lens here. It has a very space station / Star Trek kind of look to it. Again, definitely a very unique and good looking projector. Taking a look at the remote, this feels like a good remote as well. Buttons have a nice feel to them. I've had some cheaper projectors where they give you a remote that feels like absolute garbage. So it's good to see that they actually include a good remote with this one. So coming back to the front of the projector right here, you can see you have two sensors. And that's because this has auto obstacle avoidance, auto focus, auto screen alignment, and auto keystone correction. So this is one of those projectors where you could just put it down. You don't have to worry about positioning the screen and changing this and that. You just put it where you want to put it, and the inside software will automatically calibrate everything for you. This way you can just put it down and get started on watching right away. Turning the projector around, you have your power port, an HDMI port, a USB-A port that does charging, a USB-A port for data. Then you also have an auxiliary port so you can hook up headphones or connect to an external soundbar as well. Another cool thing about this projector is it has audio that they call 3-chamber fusion. This has a total of 65 watts, which is a lot of power for a projector. I don't think I've seen any other projector that has 65 watts of power built into the projector itself. So right here in front, you can see you have two pretty large drivers. These got to be about 2.5 to 3 inch drivers each. And then you have these big bars here, which at first I thought were part of the projector. But if you flip around the projector, this is actually a big tube that's linked up with the front speakers. So let me see if I can shine the light on this so you can see it. So this whole thing is hollow and it links all the way up to the speaker in front. So I'm guessing these are working like giant bass reflex tubes. We'll go ahead and try that out in a little bit, but definitely a very interesting setup. And then right here, you also have another smaller driver as well. So you have a total of 3 drivers on this projector. So again, definitely a very interesting setup for a projector, especially when audio is an afterthought on a lot of other projectors. All right, so let me go ahead and get this hooked up so I can show you what it looks like and how everything performs as well. So before I show you this projector, I want to show you one of the cool features that it has, and that's the auto position feature. So a lot of projectors at the bottom, you have this little thumb screw. So if you want to angle it up a little bit, you got to mess with that little screw and kind of tinker with it until you get it into the position that you want it. But this has an automatic lever. So there's a mechanical little leg that comes out at the bottom. So first, when you turn on the projector, it's something that you can set in the settings and you'll see it actually moving. So once you turn it off and turn it back on, it'll automatically go in the same position that you had it. So if you have somewhere you always put the projector, you can just turn it on and the projector will automatically put itself in this position. Excuse my little makeshift stand here. I have a projector stand under this, but the base is kind of small. This is kind of a flimsy old projector stand I have, but I'm making it work for now with this box on top. So let me go ahead and turn this on. You're going to see it physically move. Watch right here in the bottom. You're going to see a little leg come out. Kind of hard to see, but you can see it right there at the bottom. If I turn it off, you'll actually see it retract back down again. So definitely a really cool feature that adds to the whole automatic setup. A lot of projectors have auto keystone, auto focus, but that's definitely something you won't see on another projector. All right, so turning on the projector, this is what it looks like. I love that this has built-in Google TV. A lot of times with these cheaper projectors, they'll give you some random bootleg Android OS where the apps all barely work, but this is official Google TV. It has Google Play Store. So as you can see down here, you get Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Hulu, pretty much any other app that you can get on Google TV. And this does have the proper certifications. So right here from Google Store, you can directly download Netflix. If you're someone who has purchased a cheaper projector in the past, you would know that a lot of these projectors don't have the proper Netflix certifications, and they'll make you go through some kind of loophole where you get it on the browser. And the problem with that is it's an unofficial Netflix app. So you end up with a lower quality, and it's just kind of a cheap workaround. But once again, this has everything it needs to run the apps properly in their native form. It might not come across very well on screen. I have to dial the brightness down quite a bit, but this is definitely a very bright projector. I am honestly very surprised that it is this bright. Typically, if you want brightness like this, you're upwards of $800-900 for a projector. But considering how much this costs, this is definitely very impressive. As I said earlier, this has a lot of automatic features. So it has autofocus, auto keystone correction, auto screen alignment, auto obstacle avoidance, auto rotation correction, auto position, pretty much auto everything. Surprisingly, it's very bright as it is, but as you can see here, it has bright mode. And once I click this, my camera's adjusting a little as I do it, but this is definitely an actual bright mode. I've tested some projectors where you click on bright mode and the brightness goes up a very tad bit. You got to watch it very closely to notice, but clicking this puts it at least 25% brighter. Honestly, too bright for my liking. When you go into bright mode, it's really very close to an actual LCD brightness. So pretty impressive for a projector, not something you see very often. And then right down here, you have silent mode. The projector isn't that loud. It might sound a little loud on camera, I'm not sure, but I am standing directly next to it. So that would be the reason why if you hear the fan. But if you put it on silent mode, it'll turn down the brightness a little bit. Again, still very bright, still a very good image as you can see, but turning down the brightness allows it to run the fans a little more quiet. And right down here, you have virtual mouse. So instead of navigating with the control like I'm doing now, I can actually enable this and it'll now turn into a mouse. So if you're browsing the internet, you don't got to click around trying to figure it out. You can just use the D-pad and move the mouse like this. One thing I hate on projectors is when the remote is not very responsive, where you click the button and like a half a second later, you'll see it move. But this one I noticed is very, very responsive. So as I click this, it's very instantaneous. Both the OS and the remote are very responsive when I push buttons. Definitely good to see on there. Right now I have this at about a 70-75 inch screen, but given how much brightness this has, this is rated to go up to 200 inches. I've seen some other projectors say that, and you wouldn't want to do that because the further back you go, the more brightness you lose. But this has so much brightness at 200 inches, you're still going to have a very visible picture. Again, it's not going to be as bright as you have it now, but it'll still be decent enough. For the kind of a good middle of the road, good brightness, good size, I would say you want to stay somewhere around 120, 130. As far as the actual projection goes, this is an LED bulb that's rated to last 30,000 hours. So you'll easily get several years of usage out of this. On this projector, you can also use the built-in voice assistant. So if I hold this down, instead of using the remote, I can just open things with my voice. So for example, open Netflix.
Opening Netflix.
And there you go, very quick and easy. Another thing I noticed on this projector that unfortunately I won't be able to show all of you thanks to YouTube's copyrights, but the speaker on this sounds large. It not only sounds loud, but it also sounds like a bigger speaker as well. I guess that's because of those big tubes that it has in the projector. For a projector, this is definitely one of the biggest sounding projectors I've heard so far. It goes very loud, but it also sounds very full as well. It's not super bass heavy, but when you play music, it definitely has a very good amount of bass to keep it enjoyable. I went all the way up to 100 and it didn't have any distortion, which is definitely good to see as well. For a projector, this is definitely in a whole other league compared to everything else out there. All right, let me go ahead and mute the audio, open up Netflix. I was messing with this a little bit before I started filming just now, and out of the box, I would say the calibration is a little bit too heavy on the contrast. But I dialed down the saturation a few notches. It was at 50. I put it down to about 45, and I think this is just right. It's not too concentrated, not too flat. It's just a nice and vivid image. And as you can see, Definitely a very good looking projector. Again, very, very bright. In this price range, you typically don't get a projector as bright and vivid as this one. Right now, it's at the early bird price, so maybe it might shoot up 2 or 3 times more later on. But right now, this is definitely an absolute steal for what you're getting. This tops out at 1080p as that's the native resolution, but it does support 4K. While that might sound a little weird, why would you want to play 4K on a 1080p screen? There's actually a benefit to it that when you have a 4K video stream, it usually has a little more video data, a little better colors, a little better sharpness. So when you downscale this to 1080p, you actually would get a better image with the 4K on 1080p than you would with a regular 1080p on 1080p. Besides Netflix and all the apps in here, this also has Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. So you can either cast your phone directly to the projector or just cast music onto the projector as well. And last but not least, you have the projector settings. Like I told you earlier, you have the auto position here. I have mine set at 30. Without this, you can see my screen is pretty low. And even as I'm moving it, you can see it's rescaling the image. So it can go all the way up. And keep an eye on it here so it doesn't tilt over on my makeshift stand. You can go all the way up to 100. So that's a pretty high adjustment that you can make there. And as I said earlier, you simply set this to where you want it, leave it alone, turn it off, and the next time you turn it back on, it'll automatically put it to that space that you put it. Taking a look at the picture quality, I am definitely happy with the picture this puts out. This is also brighter than most other projectors in this price range, so it still looks good even in a brighter environment. As you can see, it's not only bright, but the colors also pop with a good amount of contrast as well. As far as the sound goes, this definitely has more than enough volume thanks to the 65 watts of power. Volume aside, I'm also happy with the sound quality and bass, so much so that I think this could even compete with some dedicated Bluetooth speakers as well. Overall, this is definitely a great projector. The picture looks great, the sound is better than most other projectors, and it's also very affordable for everything you get as well. So overall, if you happen to be shopping for a projector, I would highly recommend this one here, which again is the DESS C5 Enterprise. Alright, well that about wraps up this video. As usual, if you have any questions at all, feel free to drop me a comment and let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.